Welcome to Strategy and Tragedy, the UK's top 20 business show. If this is your first time tuning in, then welcome. You are in the right place. If you're an entrepreneur building your business, and if you are tuning back in, then a very warm welcome. I'm your host, Stephanie Melodia, and I'm so excited to interview my next guest, Anisha Joshi. She is an award-winning osteopath, public speaker, author of Heal Your Back, and entrepreneur who has scaled multi-clinic healthcare businesses. She's been featured in the likes of ITV's This Morning, and she's treated athletes, celebrities, and even royalty. Anisha, please tell me it's not Prince Andrew.
No, I can confirm that is definitely not. I can't mention.
You can't name who it is. Can I guess?
No.
Man, woman?
You cannot guess.
Okay, this is
I'll probably get arrested.
Client-patient confidentiality.
Yeah, and I'd get arrested.
Do you get called into Buckingham Palace?
I can't tell you this stuff.
Stop asking these questions.
Yeah.
All I want to know is which.
There's a lot of royalty around the world. Let me put it that way. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Love it. All right, we will talk about your business and your growth, your personal brand. I mentioned in your intro, you've been on the likes of ITV This Morning. That's mainstream, top tier. When you're on TV, that's incredible. But of course, there is a dark side to having a big personal brand. So tell us about some of the experiences you've had. I know you've been trolled. I know that you've had some panic attacks. These nerves have got the better of you. So let's kind of open up the behind the scenes, the reality of being in the wings behind, these big experiences.
Yeah. So there was a point where I genuinely thought that I was going to die on live TV. And let me give you some background first. But essentially it was my dream, or I guess the North Star, was to, be an expert on This Morning. I feel like it's like the thing,
Love
like you
that.
say, right? If there's any kind of TV show you want to be on, it's like you might as well go for the biggest. I think it's 1.8 million live viewers.
Wow.
So, yeah, I had dreamt about this moment for a really long time, manifested it, and changed all my passwords to This Morning. And tried everything to get on the show. And it's really interesting because initially the reason I wanted to go on it was because I wanted to take over the world and shed loads of patients and make them better, and have a busy business, right? And then it became more than that. Then it became about the fact that not many people know what osteopaths do. And I was like, I should do this just to represent the profession. And then one day there was an osteopath on This Morning. But I looked into it and I was like, okay, so there's a lot of white men that are sort of
There's
on the TV.
There's a lot of them around.
But they, when it came to things like musculoskeletal representation, a lot of it seemed to be that, and then it became more about representing something even bigger, being a female, being a person of color. Anyway, so it took me, I think, 8 years.
Wow, interesting.
Of wanting it. And I finally got the opportunity, which, as always, as people say, divine timing. I had someone come into the clinic who was a producer, and it all just married up. And 2 weeks later, it's like, boom, dream come true.
Amazing.
But I guess the dark side is that after that first time, I had quite a lot of trolling from others in the musculoskeletal profession. And I was not expecting it, obviously, at all. Nothing can prepare you for, and the reality is you go through or go on a show like that and you already are a little bit like, oh, do I deserve to be here? You know, there is a bit of imposter syndrome.
If you're tuning into this right now, then first of all, a big heartfelt thank you. I really appreciate it. And secondly, there's a very high chance that you're on your own entrepreneurial journey right now. So whether you're a first-time founder and you're figuring things out and you feel like you're on your own, or if you've done it before and realized that actually this whole entrepreneurship business is a lot easier said than done, then I might be able to help you. If you feel like you vibe with my energy and feel like you need some of that professional big sister direction, support and advice, then I'm opening up a few select spots for that one-to-one coaching, mentorship and growth strategy for ambitious founders. There's a link in the show notes, so check it out and I would love to hear from you. All right, let's get back to the episode. Can I just ask at this point in the story, were you at all bracing yourself for any sort of backlash or trolling, or were you just kind of like rabbit in the headlights, my dream of 8 years is finally coming true? What was your headspace like at this moment?
Yeah, it was literally like, oh my goodness, like manifesting works.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You know, and this is my dream.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, like everything went into that moment.
Yeah.
Like I was mentally preparing for like weeks beforehand, didn't tell anyone other than my immediate family.
So what happened? What was the backlash?
It was just kind of like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong, or I wouldn't have said that. I would have said this.
Did you say anything particularly controversial?
I don't think so. But it's like anything, right? You know, one hairdresser will cut your hair one way and the other one will do it another way.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, the person still gets a haircut and they walk out happy.
Yeah.
So is there, you know, is it really bad that as long as the person that walks out feels better, you know, it's... Anyway, it's almost like confirmation, isn't it? It's like, oh, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, you know, or maybe, you know, because the reality is I feel like everyone has an element of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, you're just a dickhead.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just like, so with that in mind, it was like, oh, it's confirmation that I don't deserve to be here and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I think it really affected me and more than I realised. So what happened was the second time, so it went really well. They were super impressed. And I think my first show, I was with Eamon and Ruth back in the day. And they asked for me to come back. Like, I think, so 3 weeks later, they asked me to come back on again.
Amazing.
Which was so cool. They couldn't believe it was my first time on TV.
Wow.
Which is great. Second time, I think I just got in my head about all the comments and you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, all these things. And essentially what happened was I was being counted in to go live and I started to have a panic attack. And I didn't know what was happening because I've never had one before. So I was just like, what is happening? I felt like I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. My whole body was violently shaking. Like, you know, like freezing cold. Thought I was going to throw up on live TV. And it was really traumatic.
Also, could I just say how amazing would that have been? Because you would have gone viral in an instant. Could you imagine like projectile vomiting on like over people's granola?
Oh my God.
On like this morning.
Yeah.
Silver lining. So like you could be like 10 times more famous if that had happened.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm being silly because it's with you. But of course, in the moment, you're like, oh my God, like that would be the most horrendous thing to happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
And so it was... Yeah, and like there was nothing I could do, right? So they're literally like 10, 9, and they're just, and I'm going like, I'm going to die. And they're like the producers behind the camera, like doing the count and whatever. And he's going, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was going, Because also what's going through my mind is what's happening? Am I dying? Also, if I this up, am I going to be able to come back again? You know, they're going to be like, yeah, it's like, you can get cut, you know, in an instant.
Yeah.
So it was, luckily I only in that moment needed to say 2 lines or something because it was like an intro to like a phone in. And so I managed to get the 2 lines out and luckily stop shaking and just get the 2 lines out. And I did that by literally in my head, I was going, Anisha, you're fine. And you just get the 2 lines out. And then if you do throw up everywhere, it's fine. Like, or whatever, just get the 2 lines out. And so that's kind of, but I was fine. Nothing happened.
Yeah. And that's the hardest, isn't it? So what I can definitely speak to is speaking on stage, which we both have in common, which we'll talk about as well in a sec. But that build up, I mean, research has actually shown that 99% of Americans, because obviously it's a US study, but 99% of Americans would literally rather die than do public speaking, which is like understandable, right? Like it is very nerve wracking, even if you've done it a few times, even if like us, we enjoy it, we love to do it. But that build up when you're in the wings, and especially the countdown as well, like you're going to come out, and it's just that build up to getting out. And then once you get those first few lines out, you're like, right, okay, we've like ripped off the plaster, and then you start to find your flow. But what I definitely need to commend you on, something I've never done, is going on live TV. The stakes of that are another level. So I want to give you flowers and pat you on the back for that, because it's one thing going out, well, doing a podcast, speaking on stage, but to be on live TV.
It's definitely an experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, the whole panic attack thing was not fun.
Yeah.
It was really traumatic. I ended up with like PTSD from it because obviously in that moment I was experiencing fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't flight or fight.
Yeah.
I was stuck to having no choice but to be there and deliver what I needed to deliver. I couldn't go out and have to get some air or breathe into a bag or whatever it was. And I think that ended up, I thought it was a one-off. Turns out it then ended up happening all the time. So I started to get panic attacks regularly, even in normal, like being on the tube, suddenly like the doors would shut and I'd suddenly be like, oh my, you know, and I'd need to try and get off the tube. And while I'm working, just even whilst going to sleep, I'd be like falling asleep and I'd suddenly go into a full blown panic attack.
Anisha, I'm so sorry to hear that. So how many roughly would you say that you've had since that first panic attack on live TV?
Probably say, I don't know, between 10 and 15.
Yeah. I wonder whether, because you had such PTSD from that moment and it happened to you, for the first time, so you've got no idea what's happening. Touch wood, thankfully, I've only experienced it once, so like first, last, only time. But again, because that was my first, this is how I can relate to what you're saying. Like, you don't know what's happening. You've never had a panic attack before, and it actually isn't what the word sounds like. You're not running around panicking. Your body is, you feel like you're gonna die. Like literally, that's what it is. So not only are you having this horrible experience, but you're having it in this high stakes environment. I wonder whether psychologically now it's kind of almost opened the floodgates to not anything, but like these other instances triggering you to have it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think essentially, it was like an opening, I think. And
how are you managing it now then?
Well, I mean, so this was a while ago.
Good.
You know, this was probably the first time I went on the show must have been about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So since then, when it started happening more regularly and like in normal situations, I literally was like, right, emergency kind of like, I need therapy now. Like, what do I need to do? Because this morning wanted me back. Thankfully, I was like, oh my God, I've messed it up like forever. Like, I'm like this, like, you know, like, and then I was just like, oh, they're going to be like, who, like, weirdo. Anyway, they wanted me back. And I was like, no. I kept saying no. And I was like, there's only so many no's that they're going to accept before they go.
Stop asking.
Yeah, stop asking.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I am not ready. And so I had like really intensive therapy, like 2-3 a week.
What type of therapy?
Psychotherapy.
Oh, interesting.
And like the lady I still see she does like everything.
Amazing.
As in like CBT. she's like a doctor
Yeah, amazing.
in psychotherapy, so she's like got all the skills.
Yeah.
And I think she basically used a combination of like, you know, the whole reframing and coping mechanisms. So about 6 months after that happened, I was like, it got to a point where I got another opportunity to go on, and I was like, it's like that thing, isn't it, of like getting back in a car after you have a car accident.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do it. And it was the scariest thing.
Wow.
Like putting myself back in that situation.
Was it even worse this third time around because of what you'd been through the second time?
Well, I think as in, the fear and the nerves were just through the roof.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I had to do a lot of mental preparation.
Wow.
Like every day I was like visualizing, meditating, like visualizing it going well.
Yeah. Getting comfortable with the idea.
Yeah, like putting myself on the sofa and like feeling my heart rate go up and what to tell myself. And, you know, it was a real, like, people just don't even realize that, like, for 6 minutes of live TV, I spent 2 weeks trying to calm my heart rate down.
Yeah, I totally believe you. Yeah.
And then, yeah, like I survived it. I didn't, you know, I'm here today, thank God.
Spoiler alert.
And yeah, like it went really well, and it was like, okay, I can do this again. And I did it multiple times after that. But
what a journey.
Like every time
Experience.
I was on after that moment, I did shit myself. Every time, like, is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again?
For anyone who hasn't been on stage or live TV, myself included in that, or any of these other situations, when you're sat back as an audience member or indeed even a podcast listener right now, it's near impossible to overstate the nerves and the conscious effort you have to make to be good in that scenario. It's just, I think we do take these things for granted. We take it for granted. Oh, just like tune into a podcast. Oh, just switch on like this morning over my breakfast. I'm at a conference. Oh, let's just go to this stage and sit. And it's day and night. It's worlds apart when you're just kind of sat, like, I know it sounds obvious, right? But when you're passively consuming something as a follower, as a listener, as an audience member, versus being the one, and you're like, to your point, you're like 6 minutes on live TV, no biggie, on to the next one. This is a daily thing that these guys do. But for you, this has actually been a deeply traumatic experience. It's actually been a deeply transformational like journey for you. Like, you've had therapy, you've like had to build your resilience, thicken up your skin, understandably, right? But I think it's really easy to dismiss that.
Yeah,
or to not
I
even
guess so.
register what people go through on the other side.
Yeah, I think I definitely have a better appreciation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Of what it takes to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you still did it. You put yourself out there. From a business perspective, what did that do? How did that impact your business? Because your main business, Osteo Allies, as we mentioned before, you treat athletes, celebrities, royalty. That's your main kind of business, right? Mm-hmm. So how did that impact your company?
Well, from my perspective, it's instant credibility. So from a personal brand perspective, I truly believe that people buy people, especially when it comes to like service professionals. And I think where I was putting content out there and things like that, it was nice to showcase, I guess, a bit of my personality on live TV. In terms of like, say, revenue, I'll be honest, like it did almost nothing to the revenue. A lot of people would think, in fact, I was like, guys, get your phones out,
right.
like prep the team, like, you know, the phone's going to be ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
Reality is that no one in London watches This Morning. Understandably, you know, daytime TV.
But in terms of your credibility,
yeah, massive.
Did that translate to anything financial for you? Like, were you able to raise your prices because you've got this next level of kudos now?
Exactly, yeah. So things like, it definitely led to opportunities kind of also down the line. You know, being able to say that you have been on This Morning, I mean, you know, I do get patience from it still, you know, and people travel quite far, which is crazy to me, to be honest, because I'm like, you know, they just instantly think you're the best in the world. And it's like, actually, no, I just speak well
Just
on
put
camera.
myself out there. Yeah.
But at the same time, it led to opportunities like being able to be an author and, you know, getting, you know, maybe a few more followers on Instagram and brands taking you more seriously, therefore more likely to kind of partner with you because you're instantly more credible. So
interesting. So the compounding effect that it has with these other things. So I guess like it's opened up these other doors to have other like revenue streams. So with the book, for example, so congrats on that, published by Penguin. That's amazing. What do you think mattered the most with the publishers to get the deal? Was it the fact that going on live TV got you a bigger social media following and they looked at that follower account? Was it purely the fact you'd been on This Morning, or is it just not that cut and dry?
I would say it's probably all of those things. It's you know, I got approached by an agent on Instagram saying, you know, I like your content and stuff. I think that you should write a book, sort of thing. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, let's see what happens then. And then it took me like over a year to like submit a book proposal just because I didn't know what to do. As in, I was like, I don't know how to write a book proposal, so I just didn't do it. and then this agent kept coming back to me going, so do you want to write this book proposal? Anyway, cut a long story short, it went well.
Something I want to connect the dots on is you mentioned, we rewind, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, you mentioned one of my favourite words. I don't know if you've seen those viral reels with people's pets. I know you've got a puppy as well now, where people say like their dog's favourite words and film them. They're like, oh, should we go to the park? Should we go walkies? And they see their like ears prick up. So my version of that was manifesting. It was like, oh, it's one of my favourite words. And I'm super leaning into it as well. I'm going like even deeper. I'm already a big like visualization kind of girl and everything. And I'm owning it. So what I'm connecting the dots on is you manifested ITV's This Morning, which honestly is just like, it speaks to the power of the clarity of the specific goal, because I don't think enough people stop and take the time to think about what they actually want and be specific about certain goals. I think it's easy to be like, I want to make a lot of money, I want to be a famous public speaker, whatever, but like you need to drill it down and be like, I want to be interviewed on This Morning about my profession, right? So you've got that clarity of the goal, and then you've got everything else that kind of, you know, the effort that you put into it, the moves that you're making to like make that happen. So you've got that on one side of the fence. And then what I picked up on is the book deal sounds like that kind of landed in your lap a little bit, right? So you didn't manifest the book deal?
I actually did.
Okay.
So I'm thinking back to in COVID, I basically had a whiteboard and I had a list, and it was like my goals, right? Or like what to manifest. And so number 1 was speak on This Morning. Number 2 was be an author. Number 3 was something like get married. Still waiting.
Takes time.
Hint.
Divine timing. Divine timing.
But so it was actually on that list
Amazing.
As well. Because again, I thought being an author, again, it adds credibility, right? And it is something I've always liked, the thought of being able for someone, say in Spain, who has back pain, to be able to read my book and get better from it. And you know, it's really amazing to think that I'm helping people that can't necessarily afford to see an osteopath or a physio or whatever.
Yeah, amazing.
So I'd always liked the thought of that. So it was actually kind of in there.
That is interesting, because I think the way you initially told the story was like, oh yeah, and then it kind of led to this and that. What were the steps that you took to make it happen? Or were you just kind of focused on the top goal with This Morning and then everything else fell into place? Or I want to just kind of like unpack your own manifesting strategy here a
Yeah.
little bit. What steps did you take to make these things happen?
Well, so with both things, do you mean? So with this morning, I was trying to reach out to people on LinkedIn, messaging them my bio. I got a PR company at one point, and I was like, the ultimate goal is this morning. And they were just like, yeah, you and everyone else. Um, and yeah, so it was like, I think I sent in a video pitch.
Nice.
Like and then I kind of was like, I think I went through 3 PR companies.
Wow.
With that as the number one goal.
Mm.
And yeah, so that was the this morning thing.
And ultimately, what do you think succeeded then in getting you on this morning? Seeing that you went through 3 different PR agencies, because this isn't saying much about them, is it?
Well, yeah, I think for things like TV and what I learned from the producers that I'm now friends with is like that they aren't fans of PR companies. Like they're just annoying.
Yeah.
To
so
them.
Inherently it doesn't work. You could be the best PR agency, right? But you're just immediately going to be dismissed.
Yeah. But it was, I think, where the PR companies put my profile in front of, like, I guess, in a pile of lots of other profiles. It just so happened that this one producer saw my face and saw my profile. And actually, she said to me, I thought she looks different to other
Great.
musculoskeletal people that we
Right.
typically have go on TV. And then she booked in for an appointment with me. And, like, I guess, I don't know, to see what I'm like and if I'm credible. And yeah, she really liked me. We got on well. I didn't know she was a producer. And it literally just happened like that.
Yeah.
So in terms of what worked, I would say, I think it was probably, I guess, PR getting your name in the hat. But really, I think what ultimately worked was my Instagram profile and personal brand building as well, because she did mention that her and another senior producer had been following me for 2 years on Instagram. So I had, because this was 8 years in the making.
Yeah.
So I think I was on their radar
Yeah.
before.
It takes time, right? That's really interesting. And you've just got no idea who's lurking, who's following, especially if like you don't have that specific name in mind. It's another follower to add to the account. So let's talk about your Instagram, your personal brand, because I want to sort of take it down maybe a rung or two for people who are like, okay, something like this morning or going on live TV is still a few steps away for me. So kind of rewinding on you saying like this social media presence helped. It was part of like the steps, the rungs on the ladder here. I guess, first of all, like, were you very intentional about building your personal brand to build your business, or was it just something that you were just kind of naturally into and having fun with?
I was really intentional about it. I actually didn't want to do it. At the time I was a young business owner and I was already pretty busy with patients.
Yeah.
But I kept getting, you know how they say that like a message will keep coming to you until you do it. And I just kept getting the same message from patients in London and a few celeb clients. They were like, you should really do this on social media. And I'm like, what do you mean do this? And they were like, you should just post, and because you're quite funny and relatable. And I just didn't get it. I kept going, nah, I don't have time. Like, really? I actually didn't get Instagram. Initially, I was just like, this is stupid. Like, why would you just, I don't understand why you would just post a picture. And like, I just did not get it. Anyway, I think one day I was like, okay, fine. So I made my profile public instead of private. And I think I posted a few things and I got some patients through the door quite quickly. And I was like, obviously, ding, like, oh, okay, this shit works. And so I was like, oh, let me do a bit more. But I still wasn't necessarily, it wasn't about following. It was very much about getting bookings as I was trying to grow my London clinic. And then I had a patient came in, and he said to me, look, I helped grow this person's Instagram account, and you've got shed loads of potential to really grow, but you're just not posting enough, and things like that. And I was going, Anyway, cut a long story short, he was like, give me 3 months or something, and like a free treatment each month, and I'll help you. So he helped me for a bit, and then I got so intentional about it just because I was still shit at prioritizing it. Because you do, right? When you're owning a business as well, you're being pulled in so many different directions.
Right.
So in the end, I actually made my audience, made myself accountable to my audience. And I actually said, okay, hi guys, I've decided, this is overnight on a random day. I was like, I've decided that I'm going to post every single morning on my stories a tip for you guys. I don't know if you remember or if we hung out then, but basically I used to do like an osteo tip every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, that was like this, I had to do it every single day without fail. And I did that every single day for, I think, 2 years.
Wow.
Or 3 years.
Wow.
Including Christmas Day.
Wow.
New Year's Day.
God, Christmas osteo tip.
Yeah. Imagine how many freaking joints.
Wow.
I literally was like, there must be a joint in the ear. Or a
joint in the ear.
I was just like, if you did this with, honestly, seriously, it was, I think it really worked. Obviously, people got used to wanting to see what I was going to say.
What's really interesting is almost like how you've had to hack your own motivation for something that you couldn't prioritize, completely understand as a business owner. It's all the way down the priority list, especially if it's something you're not already into. And so creating this challenge for yourself, creating this accountability, I'd love to hear that's how you made it work for you. The other thing I just want to comment is I also love how this guy offered you this kind of 3-month deal and getting the treatments, treatment a month instead of the payment. And what that speaks to is the creativity also in finding solutions. So, for example, there might be an entrepreneur listening to this now that's building their business and they're also feeling like, oh God, I can't keep up. And Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok, and now it's all about Substack and YouTube and whatever. And it's like, oh, I wish I could just delegate this or just pay someone for it and everything else. But it's actually, do you have, especially if you are strapped for cash, you can't quite afford, you don't know what the ROI is going to be, is there a more creative solution? Could you offer something else? And obviously you want to be fair, right? So I love this agreement with give it 3 months, let's see what the result, let's test it, see if you actually do get the results. And in the meantime, this is kind of a win-win. I'm still giving you something of value. You're giving me something of value, and you're making it work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Those 3 months went well. Ended up that I started, paying him a very minimal amount. And then, obviously I needed more. As I was getting busier and growing, I needed his help more. So, by the end of, I think we worked together for a few years. And he got me to the 10,000. It took ages.
Yeah.
But it, by the end I was paying him well over £1,000 a month.
Wow, amazing.
As his side hustle.
But the business savvy there is you're able to afford it because it is working, it is moving the needle for you, but also you're able to justify it because you've already kind of tested it out and seeing, and it becomes that virtuous circle. I want to move on to the business savvy and finances in just a sec, but as we just wrap the kind of the personal brand chapter, I want to ask you, what does your content strategy look like today? How much output are you putting out there, and what's working for you now in 2026 in this game of social media and personal brand?
Great question. So I think it changes all the time, right? Again, when I was trying to grow proactively, I posted every single day for 6 years on my grid. and on my stories pretty
Wow.
much. Now I post maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I batch record content. And I think for 2026, the aim for me, and this is me telling your audience that this is my accountability partner now.
Nice.
Your audience is my accountability partner. Is that my aim is to double my Instagram following to a minimum of at least 50k followers.
Wow.
And I'm going to be doing that by testing different sort of types of videos, being a bit more interactive. I've tried a few things that are different. I think there's something to be said about getting out there and like actually putting yourself in kind of awkward positions, and making yourself actually feel uncomfortable. I almost feel like your uncomfortability is where people are like, oh, that's awkward, you know, and they because they're like, I would never do that. But you've got to do it, and then I'll follow you.
This girl went viral on TikTok. She had so much success that she was actually picked up again by mainstream media and the newspapers, where she did rejection therapy every single day on TikTok. And what that meant was literally putting herself out there in these uncomfortable situations like every single day, because it was all kind of this confidence building test, and it was all this like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger type of thing. And I'm trying to think of some examples of what she did, but she would what's one, like there was one where she laid down, like she just like you would love this actually, she just like laid down on the pavement, and then the police were like, are you okay, can you get up? There was another one where she would just actually there was one where she would just like ask to get something for free. So like she'd be in a coffee shop and she'd be like, can I have it for free? Just weird, where you're like, don't do that, like or just going up to strangers. I need to have better examples that come to mind. Or just going up to strangers and saying things. And actually a friend of mine at the weekend, we were outside and this woman went past us and she said to me, oh my God, I love her skirt. I was like, oh, you should tell her. And she was like, do you know what? I'm going to do that. Like every time I see something I like, especially on another woman, right? I'm going to tell her, because like, obviously that's going to make her day. It's a lovely compliment. But also with a bit of that rejection therapy, that discomfort, I'm going to put myself in those slightly uncomfortable situations to keep like
but I do think that that's what 2026 is about.
So can you give us a teaser on some uncomfortable things you're going to try out?
Well, just I mean, we're in London, so just trying to attempt to converse with someone on the street.
That's what I mean.
Is uncomfortable.
I mean, just talking to a stranger in London is like, oh my God.
You never know what's going to happen. Let's just say there was a lot of rejection.
So what, are we talking like the street interview style, the mini mic?
Yeah, just kind of.
What will you ask them about, like their back?
Yeah, so it's kind of like one of my, I guess, USPs, unique selling point, is that most of the time I can look at someone and see what potentially they're struggling with. Yeah.
Which, by the way, we're making eye contact here, and like in half a split second, like we both know what we're talking about. I need to share this because this is flowers to Anisha as well here. The first time, this is still stuck with me. She knows what I'm about to tell you. It freaked me out. It still freaks me out. The very first time that we met was like 2020, 21. It was during this, it was virtual. It was over Zoom. And we had this chat. And as we're signing off and saying goodbye, Anisha, being the incredible woman that she is, she went to me, oh yeah, by the way, your neck is fucked. What? She could see what was up with me, not only just by looking, but by looking at me on Zoom, which is like, you're a witch. How did you do that? What the hell? Like, I do have a chronic issue with the right side of my neck and my shoulder. It's been years and years, and she spotted it just on Zoom, just by looking at me virtually. 2D, not even in person. Just by looking at me. So, that was so crazy.
Yeah, I guess that's my USP. By the way,
it's your magic superpower, you witch. It's not a USB.
Love that. Yeah, my magic superpower.
You're a witch.
just to caveat that, or disclaimer it, I did then go on to explain and help Steph with her neck. I didn't just say that she was fucked and then fuck off.
Good luck with your life.
Yeah, bye.
Calcified neck.
Oh my God. But yeah, so things like that.
So you're going to do that going back to the new social strategy you're testing out. You're going to do that on the street with strangers.
Yeah, so some
tell
of
them
that.
their neck's fucked. I would wear a bulletproof vest if I were you. I'd be braced for getting some punches.
Oh yeah,
you're going to go around
telling
actually.
People. So it's already happened, the filming.
Okay.
So yeah,
excited to release it.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's just
cool.
a few like I say, it's seeing what lands.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it was uncomfortable.
And all this, yeah, I'm sure it was. All this, what we've been talking about, has been focused on Instagram. So are you looking at other channels as well, or just doubling down on that one?
I'm always looking at the other channels.
Yeah.
I have been for probably 5 years. But no, again, 2026, I'm hoping that I do actually execute YouTube and TikTok.
What would you say to someone who's like feeling that overwhelm with like, one thing is, what you've talked about, okay, now you've reduced your output on Instagram, but at its height, it was daily. That's just on one channel. And we were talking about this before, but it isn't just a case of like sharing, reposting the same content across different channels. They're very different from Instagram to YouTube to LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
They are like, they each need their own kind of strategy. So what would you say to someone who's kind of like, oh my God, feeling that overwhelm with all of it?
Nowadays, there's a lot of automation and AI to kind of help. There's a lot of ways now where you can repurpose your content. And probably there are AI tools where you can say, take this video and make it more appropriate for LinkedIn, or take this caption and make it more LinkedIn focus, or whatever it is, which will save you so much time. And I think that was where I guess my apprehension was. But also I think the audience of Instagram at the time, they were my perfect client.
Yeah.
They're the people that are going to come in and book an appointment.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because definitely from my perspective, it's eyes on the prize and focusing on where is your target audience hanging out? What is it that you want to be achieving? Because I think it is so easy to fall into that trap of shiny object syndrome, and especially with all the different content channels and socials. I mean, who remembers Clubhouse, by the way? Exactly. Anisha's face is everything. This was exactly.
Oh, wait, aren't you younger than me?
I don't think so. I think I've just got a baby face. But this was exactly my way. This was the buzziest, hottest app of 2020. This was like all anyone was talking about with the audio. It was just the audio only.
I don't. Oh, yeah.
I
remember.
But like, see how long it took
it.
you? Yeah, same. But like, your first facial reaction was everything. The time it's taking you to be like, do I even fucking remember this app? But my point is that it was like, this was the hottest, buzziest. Everyone was piling on. Everyone was like, club, right? I appreciate this is 6 years ago, but this is exactly my point. And so it is easy to fall into that trap. Oh, I should be here, I should be there. But I think it's really easy to spread yourself so thinly. And, our time, our energy, and of course our money is limited. It is finite, more our time than anything else. And so you just want to be focused on just kind of, once you've chosen Instagram, comes very naturally to you. It's where your ideal target audience is hanging out. Win, 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 ticks all the boxes. Double down and focus on that. And then I think because you're at a point where you are doing so well, it's like, okay, maybe start to cross-pollinate and experiment with some other channels, but you're very clear in your hierarchy of what's the top priority. Anything else you wanted to add on social media before we move on? So earlier we teased a bit about kind of financial savviness as a business owner. So we used the example of this social media guy who helped you out, and before you could fully commit to paying someone, you had this kind of more creative arrangement, which I love. But we've had some mishaps along the way. We all have. What was your 100,000 mistake?
Right. So it still hurts.
Oh dear.
To this day.
Sorry, we reopen all the wounds on strategy and tragedy here.
Well, it makes sense. But yeah, so what happened was I, post kind of COVID, we had an opportunity to go into business with some other people who believed in us. That's me and my sister. We own OsteoAllies together, and that's a group of clinics. And, London was doing really well, and it was busy. I would say it was, for a one-room clinic, it was oversubscribed, right? So it was like, okay, well, we've got a waiting list, got oversubscription, doing really well, super profitable, obviously, because the rent is so low. But so we decided to go big, right? And so we expanded from one room into 4, which is a massive jump. And we were just like, nah, it'll be fine, and like, we'll just hire other osteos or, other therapists, or rent out the room, and they'll go out and get some business in as well. So it turns out that not many people want to do that, number one, because they realize the amount of hard work it is. But also we spent quite a lot of money on like redoing this space in a prime London location, and essentially it worked. I'd say like broke even for like maybe a year. After that, people, bearing in mind though, one thing we didn't factor in was that it was still very much hybrid working. So a lot of people weren't coming into London still for quite a while. They were still working from home or only coming in one day a week. And the reality is if you're not free on that one day that they're in, that you're not free, right? They won't come in. So that was a bit of a nightmare. So in the end, it was like, then the building put the rent up by something like 40%. Probably where they'd missed out during COVID to reclaim. Cut a long story short, it was like unsustainable. So over that course of the year, we were like making massive loss on the number of patients that we were seeing versus that rental outgoing. Anne had spent maybe 30 grand on doing up the clinic in the first place. But just so in that mindset of like, it'll be fine. Like it's London. Right? Like, just like do a few Google ads and it'll be fine. Reality is no, you've been on TV, it'll be totally fine.
Right.
No,
Right.
and it was just too quick. And like, if I was to go back now, I'd be like, okay, let's just take on one other room. And actually it's ridiculous. And the reason, not ridiculous, but I think back to my own experience and where I've scaled the other clinics, or we've scaled the other clinics, and actually we have every single time done it bit by bit. We've never jumped that big.
Just gone hell for leather.
And that was a one time we did, and it definitely cost us.
And just to clarify, the reason you had this kind of extra cash in order to do that was this merger you started saying with this partnership that kind of came in. So there was kind of more of this frothy pool of cash in between with all these businesses kind of coming together, but just weren't able to get that ROI. Interesting. I really appreciate you sharing that reality, because especially with mentioning things like, we talked a lot before about going on live TV and This Morning and everything, and I think it's so easy to see the glitz, the glamour, and to see like literally these vanity metrics. And this is why I wanted to ask, like, what did that actually translate to in business terms for you? Did that actually move the needle financially? So I really appreciate you candidly sharing, like, actually, no, not really. Like, it did open up these other opportunities, and it was an amazing goal that you achieved. And actually, I would maybe even argue the biggest benefit was maybe your own, like, inner journey that you've been on through that process, right? But yeah, really interesting to take these kind of business lessons away. With your premises upping the rates so drastically overnight, what are your thoughts on where that leaves kind of the property market, businesses that still need these physical spaces? Because, of course, there's this argument that, like, you're driving these businesses out into other places where, like, who's going to replace, like who's in your old offices, and then who are the customers that can afford to go and absorb this 40% increase in rent? You know, like how is this economically making sense?
Well, I can give you an answer for that.
Yeah.
What I think, well, I know the people that have gone into our office.
Yeah. What business is that?
Aesthetics.
Interesting.
So I would say that's definitely one of the kind of service care businesses, because at the end of the day, you know, fair play to them, like it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So where they are seeing, you know, I'm seeing someone for half an hour and it might be 80 quid. You know, they're seeing someone for half an hour and it's 200
Hundreds.
or 300 quid.
Very interesting.
So like that ROI is much higher.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really interesting.
Yeah. Because the reality is people are more likely to spend money on how they look than how they feel, unless they're desperate and they literally can't move.
That is so true. It's an uncomfortable truth, right, that you're confronted with, but it is true. You should have asked me to guess what business came in. As soon as you said aesthetics, I was like, fuck, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, if you think about it as well, if you just Google it, the amount of aesthetics business, even in Dubai, for instance, like majority of clinics
that's also
are
exploded.
mainly based on aesthetics, and then it's like everything else
is like an add-on.
Yeah,
really interesting. And the premises you had, they are really nice, and so it also fits with not only the fact that it's London.
They kept all our paneling, our
mean,
colours and everything. I know that just hurts even more, because it's like we spent 40 grand on that and they just got to keep it.
Do you know what? I'm so not surprised. I mean, look, take the compliment, right? Like, invitations.
I know. I'm like, oh, yay.
But as soon as you said that, because I know how gorgeous the clinic looks, I was like, oh, that totally fits. And in my mind, I was like, I hope they've kept all of what you put there, because it definitely fits the luxury, you know, especially that specific location. Where's the business at now? So obviously you had to scale things back. How's it going at the moment?
The business is good. I would say that, you know, we have a regular stream of clients coming through the door. You know, it's a multidisciplinary clinic in Hitchin, in Surrey, and in London. And we work together. It's a great team. And it's doing well. I would say also from my perspective, I think I'm in a different headspace where I'm using my time a bit more effectively. Things like, I feel like I've just naturally, in fact, probably my whole life, things have just kind of gone with the flow. Like I feel like I get messages and then I just action them. And I think I've been approached so many times by other service professionals, whether that's hairdressers or dentists or osteopaths, and they're like, how did you scale your business, or how do you post on social media and do this and this? And so I've been actually doing a lot more like mentoring and stuff like that, and I found that really rewarding.
Nice.
As well as helping people out of pain. It's great to help people out of pain in a different way.
I love that. Well, entrepreneurship is all about solving pain points, right? And you are literally doing it both physically as well as in business. So what does your time look like at the moment? How are you split across the public speaking, treating patients, mentoring?
I would say that I'm treating patients maybe, say, 30% of the time. I'm running the clinics probably 40%, and then the rest is kind of public speaking and I guess PR and mentoring. But the aim of this year is to kind of rejig those percentages a bit to kind of, I guess, what's more manageable from a lifestyle perspective, but just also what makes sense. Yeah,
because I did want to ask as well, practically, like how you are organising your time. Like, do you have to be very rigid about like Monday's my content creation day, Tuesday I'm in the clinic? Like, is it that sort of divided?
But it doesn't obviously always work like that. There's so many entrepreneurs out there on social media that are like, this is my blocked time.
Right.
You know, and I remember looking at people like that Grace Beverly, for
Yeah.
instance. Love her.
Yeah.
I've treated her. She's amazing. And I look up to her as such a massive inspiration. And so I'd look at her content and I take every word she says and I'm just like, wow, you're like the goddess, right? And she does all this time blocking and I've got her daily planner and all of this stuff. And then when I'm trying to do those things, it doesn't quite work, right? Because then I might be writing content and then all of a sudden I get an email or a phone call from a practice manager at one of the clinics and they're like, oh, you need to deal with this. The boiler's broken. And I'm like, okay. And then someone's like, oh, you need to pay that invoice. And so you end up, and then you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing because you've not been so rigid.
Yeah.
So I have, one thing that's helped me is I actually am very lucky, and I'm aware that I'm very lucky that I have a videographer now. And so like we plan a shoot and it's like an appointment, right? And
that helps with the accountability, right?
Yeah,
it's just the same as what you're saying before with your followers and my audience and stuff. It's that accountability.
Yeah. And yeah, I think actually maybe in 2026, I need to like have appointments with people. Maybe you and I should have an appointment.
I'm up for that.
to like where we meet up once a week and we make sure we just sit and work together, but on one thing.
Yeah, it's so underrated because it is so easy to get like pulled in all these different directions. So we need to find these ways to create that kind of that rigidity. You have to, I think all entrepreneurs have to create a full sense of urgency. They have to create the boundaries, the rigidity around that, and actually honor them as well, right? Because it's one thing to buy Grace Beverly's productivity planner. It's one thing to be like, oh yeah, okay, that sounds a good idea, but it's actually putting it into practice. And actually it is when you get those other requests, other distractions, where it does put those things to the test, right? Like it's all fine and well to be like, I'm going to go and do this. It's only until something else comes along that actually puts it to the test.
I mean, the reality is though, is that I think her whole planner thing works.
Nice.
But I think where it works for someone like herself is, I think where it works is if you're a complete startup or if you're in her position almost, because she's got the ability to be like, the boiler's broken, Sandra, deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in that middle ground, it's like you're still the doer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing, I think.
It's the systems around it to help you to kind of stay on track with the game plan.
Yeah.
My traditional closing question, this show is called Strategy and Tragedy because often the best lessons come from the biggest tragedies or mistakes. Anisha, what's one tragedy that's taught you an unforgettable lesson?
I would say when I was younger, I experienced bailiffs coming to my parents' door and seeing my mum, you know, literally begging them to not take things away. And I think I was 6 years old and me and my sister super young. And I think that obviously was extremely traumatic at the time to see that. But I do think it's kind of shaped my mentality and kind of who I am as a person in terms of that, I guess, drive, work ethic, ambition, and also just kind of appreciating and being grateful for what I do have. And I think that, I think that's probably the biggest tragedy, but it strategically led me to where I am today.
So being 6 years old is obviously, it's such a young age, and it's so kind of these kind of drastic things that happen are so kind of formative. For you, connecting that to your work ethic and drive now, is that because you were like, I never want to be in that situation where someone else can come into my house?
Yeah, it was, I don't want to be in this position where I'm begging someone to not take stuff away from me or, you know, I don't want to ever be in a position where I am this upset or, you know.
Someone else has the power.
Yeah, essentially,
Yeah.
So I think that's what shaped it.
Yeah, scary. Well, I'm glad, like a phoenix from the ashes, you've taken this like traumatic experience and actually kind of funneled it in, you know, a positive way. Anisha, thank you so much for coming on the show. Pleasure to interview you on Strategy and Tragedy. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Episodes are weekly, so if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? I hope to see you again next week. Take care. Bye.